Okay, on number 1, the first thing I see is that I need to do this graphically, so go ahead and grab a graphing calculator, turn it on, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I want to do before I even start graphically is I want to make sure that this sucker equals 0. It does, so that's one less step that we have to do ourselves. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and type this into my calculator, so I'm literally going to type in to my y equals button this exact equation. So I'm going to have 2x squared minus 3x minus 2, and that is exactly what I'm going to type in. I am not going to type in that equals 0 because the calculator has already assumed that it equals 0. Alright, from here you guys should get a graph that looks something like this. I decided to erase my axes just because your guys' graph also does not have axes. If you are zoomed in a little bit way too much that you can't really see this graph, go ahead and hit the zoom button and you will just hit the button 6, which will get you to a standard 10 by 10 window. Alright, mine I just decided to zoom in a little bit because I can. Alright, so now how the heck am I going to figure out what the heck this point is? Well, this is when I'm going to go to hit second, and I'm going to hit trace, but it's actually going to take me to what's called calculate. And like I said, there's a lot of different names for x-intercepts. Another one of those names is a 0. So I'm going to go ahead, scroll down to 0, or I can just hit the 2 button, hit 0, and then I'm going to be prompted to say what is my left bound. Well, my left bound is what is left of what I think my x-intercept is. So I'm going to choose something to the left of what I think this x-intercept is using my x coordinates. How I scroll over is I'm literally going to scroll left because it is the left bound. So you get to a point that is either above or below the x-axis. It's just whichever one is left of in that case. It's not necessarily always above or necessarily always below. Alright, so once I get to a point that is left of my x-intercept x coordinate wise, I'm going to hit enter, and then it's going to prompt me for my right bound. So I'm literally going to scroll until I get to the right of that point, which in this case is going to be below my x-axis. I'm going to hit enter again. It should say guess, and you are going to hit yes. From here, you should get x is equal to 0.5 in that lower left-hand corner. Alright, now we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to try to get to my other x-intercept. So I'm going to hit second calculate. I'm going to hit 2 to get to my 0 or x-intercept. I'm going to go to the left of what I think this x-intercept is. So going left this time, I would actually be below my x-axis. And then I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to scroll over to the right and hit my right bound. Alright, hit enter. Guess, and my 0 or my x-intercept should be at 2. Alright, nifty. And that's how you graph those. Alright, next one. I just need to get this equal to 0 first, and then I can type this directly into the calculator again. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to do that. Alright, so type this into the calculator. Try this on your own. You should end up getting x is equal to, if you need to pause this video to try to figure this out, go ahead. Okay, unpausing it, you should have gotten 3 2/3. Next one, we got to solve algebraically. So the first thing I see is that I've got this entire quantity squared. Well, guess what? We can get rid of squares by taking the square root of both sides. So taking the square root of both sides, I should get now 2x minus 1 is equal to plus or minus 3. Because we put in that square root, we have to account for these two answers because I would end up with an x squared, which means that I had an x times an x. So because I had two different x's, I've got to account for those two lost answers, or one of those lost answers now, by putting a plus or a minus anytime that I put in a square root. Alright, so now I've actually got two separate equations. I've got 2x minus 1 is equal to 3, and 2x minus 1 is equal to negative 3. Now these are just algebra 1 problems. We got this. So I get 2x is equal to 4, x should be equal to 2, and I've got 2x is equal to negative 2, so x is equal to negative 1. Alright, last one algebraically. Again, I see that I have a quantity that I need to square root, but the first thing I gotta do is get rid of that 2 that's out in front of it, so I'm gonna divide that off. I should get 3x minus 4 now is equal to 81, dividing both sides by 2. And now I've got that quantity squared all by itself, so again, I'm going to take the square root because I am putting in that square root my dang self with no prompt necessary. I have to account for those two answers by putting a plus or a minus when I put in that square root. It's what a lot of us will forget. So I should have 3x minus 4 is now equal to plus or minus 9. So again, this becomes two equations. One of my equations being 3x minus 4 is equal to positive 9, and the other one is 3x minus 4 is equal to negative 9. From here, we just solved this. So over here, I should get 3x is equal to 13. So x is equal to 13 thirds, which you can just leave as an improper fraction. And we should get 3x over here is equal to negative 5. So x is equal to negative 5 thirds.